just talking about. But first to Comey. Tom, thanks for coming on. What do we learn?
Well, we learned that Comey isn't worried about being prosecuted for any misconduct because he didn't take the fifth. And we also learned the FBI and Justice Department are still hampering the investigation by ordering him not to answer many key questions, according to Republicans who've complained about the way it proceeded.
Can I ask you a question, though? Didn't Comey, am I overstating this, and I want to be fair, but it seemed to me like Comey committed perjury last time he testified because he said that he had never participated in leaking while FBI director, and then Andy McCabe, who would know, later said that he had. Did anyone ask him about that?
Well, I don't know, but I guess it depends on what the meaning of leak is.
I guess it does.
And he took those FBI memos, FBI files of Donald Trump, and leaked them with the specific purpose of getting a special counsel appointed. You know, he ought to be under criminal investigation for taking those records and leaking them. And he's also under investigation about potentially taking classified information. And, you know, if you're under criminal investigation at the federal level and someone asks you questions about it in an official circumstance like this, you often take the fifth.
Are you starting to, I mean, meanwhile,
but he didn't.
George Papadopoulos was in prison until a minute ago. Are you getting the impression that the truly powerful really don't face legal consequences? It's always the little guy. It's always Jerome Corsi, some 72-year-old writer for Newsmax, who gets threatened with prison. But Jim Comey, the FBI director, gets to do whatever he wants. That kind of seems like the lesson.
Well, it's not necessarily powerful, but it's a partisan process. Because President Trump's powerful, but he's being attacked and abused.
Good point.
But if you're connected to the Democratic establishment, if there's a partisan nature here, which is to get Trump, you're protected. And Mr. Comey is Mueller's witness. He appointed Mueller. He's friends with Mueller. He worked with Mueller. He's friends with Mueller. And now we're seeing what happens if you're a friend of Mueller. You get protected by this Justice Department and this FBI. And if you're not a friend of Mueller, you'll be used and abused in the case of Cohen, who was used to go after Trump in dishonest ways, in my view, by this special counsel. And he's being abused and being thrown under the bus. Oh, yeah, we used his testimony. We were able to insert the word Russia 50 million times as a result of these plea deals that really didn't have anything to do with Russia collusion. But we're going to ask the court to allow him to go to jail for at least 3.5 years.
It's making a lot of us very cynical, and I wish it weren't, because I love this country. There was a ruling today pertaining to Judicial Watch and Hillary's emails. What happened?
Well, actually, it was yesterday. It was a big ruling by Judge Royce Lamberth, who opened up discovery into the Clinton email issue. He's angry about what the Justice Department and the FBI did. He fears that he was hoodwinked, or they tried to hoodwink Judicial Watch and the court in keeping these emails away from us. He's concerned that Hillary Clinton created this email system to avoid FOIA. And he really went after this Justice Department for coming into court and engaging in what he called chicanery, to try to make excuses for and explain away the misconduct that saw these emails hidden and the email system used to avoid court scrutiny, congressional scrutiny, and questions from the American people. In fact, he asked, was Benghazi one of the reasons they didn't want us to know about these emails? So this discovery is significant.
Amazing.
And, you know, Congress is out to lunch on this, and Justice Department is on the other side, but the court wants more answers.
Whatever happened to the Republican Congress? We got to do a series on that, maybe in January. Tom, great to see you. Thank you. 3 whistleblowers have come forward with allegations of corrupt dealings at the Clinton Foundation. That's according to Republican Congressman Mark Meadows. He says the whistleblowers produced hundreds of pages of documents. They exposed misallocations of funds and the creation of quid pro quo arrangements during Hillary Clinton's time as Secretary of State. That would be influence peddling for those watching at home. The continuing investigation in the Clinton Foundation is the subject of a scheduled congressional hearing next week. Peter Schweizer is well-traveled in these waters. He's the author of Clinton Cash, and he joins us tonight. Peter, thanks very much for coming on. Who are these whistleblowers? Do we know?
We know that they have done work with the FBI, that they work with a consulting firm. We know that they did research that include apparently an interview or a discussion with the CFO of the Clinton Foundation. I have not seen the material yet, Tucker, but I think it further confirms this long-established pattern of serious questions about what the Clinton Foundation is up to. And, you know, if you think of the scales of justice, Tucker, look at what launched the Trump-Russia collusion investigation, which was the Steele dossier. By the way, I thought it was a good idea to investigate this. That launched the Trump investigation. On the Clinton Foundation side, We know that money was transferred to the Clintons. We know that they had agreed to disclose donors, that they hid those donations. You could find the $20 donation from a Mary Smith in Arkansas, but the $2 million donation from the chairman of a Russian-owned uranium company was not disclosed. We know that they lied to journalists about meetings that the journalists said took place, that the Clintons said never happened, and only when the journalists showed them the photographs did they admit that they happened. And we had an internal review by the Clinton Foundation itself, done by Simpson Thacher, which talked about the fact that there was a pay-to-play expectation by big donors. So this is going to further confirm what we've already known. And for the life of me, how you can launch an investigation based on the Steele dossier, which Comey admitted was salacious and unverified, but you can look at this other body of information and say, well, there's nothing to see here, proves the point I think that Tom Fitton made earlier, that justice seems to be certainly not balanced and seems to be partisan.
So a pay-for-play offer to foreigners from a foundation run by the Secretary of State, I mean, that's in the criminal category, is it not?
Absolutely. I mean, people make this mistake all the time. They say to me, well, it's a charity. It's very, very clear. The bribery charges in the United States, the international bribery standards to which Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State committed the United States to, the international bribery standard says if you donate to a person, if you give money to a political figure, if you give to their family members, or if you give to their charity, that's all criminal if you're trying to engage in pay-to-play. And by the way, American companies who have given to legitimate charities in foreign countries for that purpose have been charged under the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. So it's a very serious issue.
So the line on the Clinton Foundation was always, as you just said, it's charity, and it continues its important work of fighting childhood obesity around the world, or whatever it was pretending to do. How is it doing now that there's no more influence to sell? Do we know?
Great question, Tucker. We know that donations are way down, off by more than 50%. Now, you would think that Bill and Hillary Clinton, she's not running for president. You'd think they'd have a lot of time on their hands to do a lot of fundraising for the Clinton Foundation, but the money has basically dried up, particularly from foreign entities. So this should be no surprise. And if you chart the rise of the Clinton Foundation, particularly with foreign donations, Tucker, it rises and falls with the political fortunes of the Clintons, which is just further evidence of why they were donating this money. And by the way, to the work of the Clinton Foundation as a charity, this internal review that was done by Simpson Thacher, they interviewed Clinton Foundation employees and asked them to rate the effectiveness of the Clinton Foundation as a charity on a scale from 1 to 10. The average Clinton Foundation employee gave it a 4. So they didn't consider it a very effective charity, even though that's where they worked.
If your employees are giving you a 4 out of a scale of 10, it's a problem. Peter Schweitzer, always fact-based. I appreciate it. Good to see you.
Thanks, Tucker.
Dan Bongino is often on the show. He's a former Secret Service agent and NRA TV spokesman and the author of Spygate, the attempted sabotage of Donald J. Trump. You probably saw, Dan, as we did at the outset of the show, that there are these new documents pertaining to Michael Cohen and Paul Manafort, and in those is the word Russia. Now, that word is not explained, but it's repeated quite a bit. Is that evidence of a felony? When you use the word Russia over and over and over, that means the person about whom you're using it should be in jail. Is that the law? I'm just checking.
Well, maybe a grammatical felony if you spell it wrong, but the mentioning of Russia in a report is not a felony at all. You know, I mean, I love when you say that because it's true. They say it as if the mention of Russia somehow, it automatically imparts on someone an air of criminality. Yeah. It's not true, Tucker. I've been to Russia. I've never been interviewed by the FBI. I went there as a Secret Service agent. Yes, shockingly,
I
went there
to Russia in your capacity as a federal agent?
It gets better.
Oh, my gosh.
Wait, Tucker, it gets better. This is where it really gets nasty. The government asked me to go over there as a Secret Service agent. How is that? How could the federal government ask me to commit such a crime as going to Russia? I mean, this is utterly absurd.
Well,
it's
ridiculous.
But
a conspiracy so vast, right? Of course.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
That's the hallmark of a conspiracy theory. It can never be disproven, right? So,
exactly.
Listen, there's some takeaways here, though. I think we can figure out right now and affirmatively say, looking at these paperwork, that Bob Mueller is not investigating collusion. Bob Mueller is investigating Donald Trump. This is the equivalent of a taxpayer-funded private investigator following Donald Trump and his team around to harass him for the rest of his presidency. This is a joke. It's an embarrassment. It's the stuff that's done in third world republics, and the media figures supporting this should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. This case is a farce.
Well, it's setting precedents I don't think any of us are going to want to live with for the rest of our lives. Seriously dangerous precedents about how the government behaves that I think really are a threat to democracy. Dan Bongino, great to see you always, despite your grave admission that you were once in Russia. See you next week.
Buddy. I'll see you
Well, today's Friday. We hope all of you enjoy the weekend. But this is sad news. We've got a report tonight. You need to be careful. Keep your doors locked, your kids inside. America's streets and voting booths are no longer safe because after fewer than 2 weeks in jail, Vladimir Putin's hand-picked Russian spy / democracy hacker, George Papadopoulos, is once again free, released, walking among us. Slide the dresser in front of the door and say a prayer. No one's safe while he's out. Straight ahead, Nancy Pelosi says Democrats will never, under any circumstances, allow our border to be protected because that would be immoral. We're quoting her, immoral. What should Republicans learn from this? That's after the break.